Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right, we want to thank Dave in Cedar sending us a picture of a charcuterie board that Rick's going to show a little bit later.
Oh.
All of our guests today, including Jeff Paterson standing by, are brought to you by Able Auctions, our title sponsor, Able Auctions and ableauctions.ca. Check out ableauctions.ca for an amazing upcoming lifetime collection of musical instruments, high-end guitars, drum sets, violins, banjos, wind instruments, sound equipment, and a lot more. Rick's excited. All from one collector, acquired over a lifetime of passion for music. For information on this musical equipment collection auction, go to ableauctions.ca. And if you want your collection of any type sold at auction, email sales at ableauctions.ca. That's sales at ableauctions.ca. Canucks won a hockey game in Buffalo last night. They go 2-3 on their road trip, 5-4 over the Sabres. Joining us now to talk about that and all matters Canuck from Sakaris and Price in the Rink-Wide podcast, Jeff Paterson. How are you, sir?
Donnie, I am doing terrific. Thanks so much for asking. Let me tell you, you would think this team that I cover for a living, the lack of success, the turmoil that surrounds them, that my blood would be boiling, my head would be spinning, but none of that. I am so calm and relaxed today after watching Kirk McLean on your program. Full recline. Like, I've reached levels of zen I didn't know existed. So I thank the captain for that one.
Well, he went a step further. He wasn't just reclining. He was actually on a bed.
He was on his bed, yeah.
Yeah. We want to see that from you next week, Jeff. Hey, what do you make of all the ice time that Luke Shan and Kyle Burrows got in the crucial third period last night?
You know what, Donnie? I read into that if Bruce Boudreau and his post-game remarks, and you played the one clip there where he was asked, how badly did you need the win? And he said, yeah, for a couple of reasons. Like, he's been at this for a while. He can read the writing on the wall. I've got some respect for this. If he was going to go out, he was going to go out doing it his way, the Sinatra Act. And I was just looking back at earlier season ice time. When the Canucks picked up their first win of the season in Seattle, Oliver Ekman-Larsson played a shade under 28 minutes that night.
Wow.
Last night, 17:40, and didn't see the ice over the final 3.5 minutes. And I just think that you heard Jim Rutherford before the road trip talking about accountability and taking action if things didn't change. And I think Bruce figured, look, if I'm on my way out, I'm going to go out on my terms with the guys that I trust. And that's why JT Miller got 25 minutes of ice time, Bo Horvat almost 23 minutes of ice time. And yeah, I mean, fascinating distribution across the board that Burrows and Shen lead this team in ice time in the third period. Was it perfect? No, they were outshot 15-5, but you know what? This team bent, and it didn't break last night where it has broken on 6 previous occasions when it's had multi-goal leads. So there was interesting ice time distribution all over the place, including up front where Will Lockwood played more at even strength than Brock Besser did last night. Besser saw, I think it was 27 seconds of ice over the final 8 minutes. Now, he was relegated to that third line. Yeah. Sheldon Dries had a tough night, let's be honest. And Nils Höglander, when the bench gets shortened, usually Höglander's included. But, you know, here you've got Brock Besser making $6.5 million, still looking for his first goal, playing on the third line, and then as, you know, they're trying to hold on to this lead, not playing at all. So really interesting way that Bruce Boudreau and his coaches ran the bench last night.
Okay, so with that in mind, are you of the belief that there would have been some sort of personnel move, coaching or otherwise, had they lost last night with a couple of days between games?
Yeah, it just felt like change had to come. If they had come off the road trip with one victory and it was the first game and then they had lost the other 4. And also keep in mind that this is the second 5-game road trip of the season. We know that they got skunked in the first one. I mean, they got a couple of loser points, but they didn't get a win. So they would have had 2 5-game road trips and 1 victory to show for them. It just feels like the climate is ripe. And I don't think Jim Rutherford sat there and watched that game last night and saw the Sabres score 4 goals and think, hey, this solves everything, like we're out of the woods here. So, you know, it's a win. It allowed them to exhale for a night. It probably made the plane trip home a little more enjoyable. But in the big picture, it really didn't cure anything for the Vancouver Canucks other than keeping the Wolves at the door, I suppose, for another day. And as we do this morning, Bruce Boudreau remains the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. But I don't think his troubles are behind him. I don't think this team has suddenly found structure. It's just that they ran into a Sabres team that, while it got off to a great start this season, winning 7 of its first 10, has fallen on hard times. And you can see why, because after those 2 number 1 picks overall, Power and Dahlin, there just isn't a whole lot there. There was a lot of shoddy defending on the Sabres' part last night. And trust me, I know this because I've become an expert in shoddy defending, watching the Vancouver Canucks all season long.
Jeff, the goaltending, we talked about it in the opening segment. Spencer Martin has got 4 of the 5 wins, which is shocking. What would you do with Demko? Get him back in, get his confidence, work with him? What's going on there?
Yeah, if Bruce is on borrowed time and he is behind the bench on Friday night, I'd have no problem if he ran with Spencer Martin. But I think it's important, Rick, that we recognize Martin gave up 4 last night.
That's right.
And gave up 5 against Anaheim not that long ago. I mean, the story, and you touched on it briefly, is the run support that they just didn't give to Jaro Halak a year ago. For whatever reason, the backup goaltender now, he's living the good life. And it just means that he doesn't have to be perfect. You need some saves out of him, obviously. Yeah. And he did. He made some saves last night. But the Sabres still scored 4 on him. And Anaheim got 5 on him. And even Ottawa got a handful on him the other night, but he made big saves in that Ottawa game that kept the Canucks in it to a point where they could rally. But let's be honest here, guys. I'm not going to start a goaltending controversy. I don't want to go down that road. But there's no question there is a goaltending job share before us in this market now. Spencer Martin has started 5 of the last 9 games for the Vancouver Canucks and owns 4 of the 5 wins. So make no mistake about it. This organization truly has some confidence in him. They feel good about rolling him out there. And right now, you just wonder about Thatcher Demko. And, it just kind of, I thought, spoke volumes for him. The first touch of the puck on Sunday in Boston, and it's up in row 8. It's just, when it rains, it pours for Thatcher Demko. And, I thought he was all right in the first period there, too, as the Bruins were pouring it on. But as the night goes along, the Canucks defensively, whether it's Martin, whether it's Demko, you see those breakdowns in front of them. And unfortunately for Thatcher Demko, he just hasn't been able to wear the cape and be the superhero that he was a year ago. I still have belief and confidence. I don't think he's lost his ability to play goal. But in the here and now, if they feel that Spencer Martin gives them the best chance to win, by all means, why wouldn't you roll him out and try to back up one win in Buffalo with another here at home against the Kings on Friday night?
Ice time distribution. You can't give Miller 25 every night. Bo's up at 22-23. Paterson's at 22-23. You're going to run these guys into the ground, Jeff.
Sure, but as I said, if Bruce was going out, he was going out on his own terms, and that was...
Okay, but Hoglander...
For all of JT Miller's flaws, I thought last night was maybe his cleanest game, and I think Bruce sensed that, and he plays in all situations, so he's going to play a lot. We didn't see the egregious giveaway like we did in Montreal that wound up in the back of the net, and we've seen that on too many nights from JT Miller. I thought last night he played within himself. I thought the line with Horvat and Garland was going. I thought that was Bo's most complete game of the season. I know he's had all kinds of 2-goal games, and he only scored once last night, but he had 2 assists, and I want to see him be a playmaker. And the assist that he got on the Ethan Bear goal behind the back looked like a tribute to Henrik Sedin going into the Hall this week. So I like that. Obviously, the clean face-off win to Miller on his goal. But Horvat had 8 shots on goal. He turns out getting the game winner. He was 65% in the draw. I just thought that was probably the most complete effort start to finish from the captain. And that's saying something because he's been terrific, really, all season long.
And Jeff, you mentioned Henrik Sedin. What went through your mind on Monday when you saw the Sedins and Roberto Luongo officially get into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I love the fact that they are forever linked now by that bond. They were already linked by being teammates in the 2011 run. But Donnie and all of us, I'm just so fortunate. My time here, I'm from Vancouver, obviously. I moved away to work in Kamloops. I came back in the spring of 1999, but my final act for the radio station in Kamloops, they sent me to the draft that year in Boston. So I was in the building when the Sedins were drafted. So I saw them enter the NHL. I was fortunate enough to be in Edmonton as I was traveling around covering the Canucks. I was there for their final night on NHL ice. And my time covering this team really mirrors their time. And I've just been, like so many others, treated to incredible performances and, like everybody else, as good as they were on the ice, better off of it. And Roberto took goaltending to another level. We had seen some good ones, including Captain Kirk and Richard Brodeur. But I think Roberto elevated the position in this market. And so Yeah, delighted for all of them. I would love them to have gone in as Stanley Cup champs as well, but can't turn back the clock. You can't make that happen now, but that doesn't detract from the careers. And it is the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's not the NHL Hall of Fame, and all of them international champions and
gold medalists.
So, I mean, just an incredible day for the organization, and congrats to all three of those guys and all the others that were enshrined this year.
We'll try to get Sleep Country as a sponsor for this segment and get you a bed to do the hit next week. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Thank you.